You're listening to the Vint Podcast, where we bring you interviews and stories from around the world of wine and spirits. From winemakers and critics to sommeliers and master distillers, we'll explore the people and businesses who are instrumental in shaping the future of today's food and drinks culture. Enjoy the show. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Vint Podcast presented by Coravin. Remember that Coravin is the world leader in at-home wine preservation, allowing you to pour a glass of your favorite wine and enjoy more bottles from your cellar without having to pop the cork. As always, I'm joined by Billy Galanko. Billy, how you doing?
Doing well. Excited to finally have this guest on today. We've been trying to speak with him for nearly 4 years now.
That's right. Yeah, Laurent Ponsot, who we did chat with way back, actually in more relation to our investment business as well, and now running our retail marketplace. But it was great to have him on the podcast. I mean, such a different, I feel like we say this maybe every week, which is a testament to the types of guests we've been having recently, but such a different perspective than many other producers we've had on, and actually our first producer from Burgundy.
No, it was really neat too, because we first, like you said, had really looked into his wines, and like as we talk about in the podcast here, he separated from his family domain and has started his own kind of negociant wines, really focusing on quality, and he gets into that. But when we first were going to have him on, he had only had the vintage or two under his belt, so it was kind of interesting to talk to him because we were familiar with those wines, to see how the operation has really evolved and how he kind of is like putting more fuel into the fire and all the different wines that he's making, compared to when we wanted to talk to him a couple of years ago.
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of stuff with technology and being able to prove authenticity and provenance of his wines. Some really cool stuff that we'll get into during that interview.
I think we should probably, for those who don't know Laurent Ponsot, we'll give a little bit more. You'll get a little bit more background from him directly. But I think for the ones who don't know him, he kind of rose to fame in the non necessarily like serious wine drinker zeitgeist in the movie Sour Grapes, which he has a little bit of concerns about certain information in there. But he was in that movie, and he's associated with Rudy Carnarvon, who was faking his wines. So I think a lot of people who may not even be avid wine drinkers may have heard of him for helping, kind of identify this guy who was probably the biggest wine fraudster of all time. The guy spent 10 years in jail, has gotten out fairly recently. But I think that's where a lot of my friends first heard of Laurent Ponsot. And then, people who drink wine a lot, or even just know Burgundy really well, will know that, his family domain has made, world-class, highly sought-after Burgundy for decades and decades. He was the head winemaker there before he separated and went on to his own ventures. So he's one of the most renowned Burgundy producers, but he's also kind of this character who's been evangelizing, trying to fight back against fraudulent wines in the marketplace. And it was nice to hear that he says he thinks it's gone down a fair bit. But it was cool to hear about all the little security things that he has implemented along the way.
Yeah, he's fascinating character on both the business side of wine and also the winemaking itself. You have a new sort of segment that we want to introduce before we jump into the interview. Is that right?
Yeah. No. So every week for the Vint Marketplace, we put out a newsletter that's 5 news items that you should know in the world of wine. And I wanted to bring that to the podcast because I think I spend a lot of time kind of figuring out these little interesting things, whether they're new releases, weather events, big events, just a lot of different things in the wine world. So we want to talk about one each week from that newsletter. And if you want the full newsletter, you can go to the vintmarketplace.com, go to the blog section, and you can also sign up for our mailing list, and you'll get offers along with the weekly news every Friday. But the article that I wanted to mention this week it was from the drinks business. LeBron James spends $100K on French wine after Paris Olympics. And it turns out, that's a little touch and grabby. It turns out it was him and Draymond Green going and just buying a bunch of wines after the Paris Olympics. And I wanted to include it just because I thought it was interesting, but also I don't think it's, I think they're trying to make it seem like he spent a really lot of money when it's like on the wines that he bought. I don't think he actually went that crazy. I think it's actually pretty reasonable. He got some good deals compared to what he'd be paying in the US for the same wines. So
Yeah, it's definitely not a lot of money to LeBron, and not a lot of money if you're going to pick up a couple cases of, you know, Grand Cru Burgundy. But or I guess what did they grab? Does it say in the article?
yeah, yeah. So I'll go on to share. And just to let everybody know also on the Vint Marketplace, what I do is I provide a summary of all these articles so you don't actually have to read them. You can just read the summary on our site. And if you want to read the full article, you can click through. But yeah, so they bought 2004 Loire Corton Charlemagne Grand Cru, and that was what they were saying is that $9,400 a bottle. They bought 2 bottles of those, and then they
Mm,
bought 4 bottles of 2018 Latache DRC that cost them 32 grand, and then they
nice.
bought 4 bottles of 2016 Le Pen. Um, that's all that was really highlighted. I mean, I think the Le Pen probably wouldn't have covered the rest. So I'm assuming they got some other, bits and bobs in there that were just hard to get, but they're known Francophiles, they're known Enophiles. So I mean, like, I know every time I'm in Paris, I'm like, let's go get some good deals on wine. So I thought that was kind of interesting. They're almost shaming him, but I think he's getting some deals. Unless he's shopping on the Vint Marketplace, then you get the same deals. So
Yeah, I don't. Can you get a deal on Latoche these days unless you're buying it at release price? $8,000 can hardly be considered a deal. It's kind of tough.
well, as someone who bought 3 bottles of 2015 Latoche in the effort to
Uh-huh.
hope they go up a lot, um, there's not a lot of ways to, I mean, yeah, you need an allocation. You need to be connected directly with one of those distributors. And then if you're buying it directly upon release, I mean, it's obviously the best deal. But I think that
What
this
vintage did
price,
you get again?
he got the 2018.
Okay, let's see what do we got here. 2018. Well, you can. Let's see. Well, we have it for 59, so you can get it for less than 6,000 from us. He paid 8. That's kind of tough.
Yeah, he got a little bit of the markup there. So yeah. So
Yeah, he caught that French markup, and yeah, no, he got the athlete markup. He didn't get to take part in the discounted American traveling thing.
yeah, or maybe he was in, one of their top end stores there, and
Sure.
just what
Yeah.
you pay for retail. That just goes to show you great deals on the Vint Marketplace. But yeah, I mean, that does sound about retail price for
Sure.
that vintage of Latache. I bought some a while back through another, one of those is a broker in the UK. So it was directly from someone who had gotten an allocation. So I think there are ways to do it, but basically that is what we do on a regular basis for our clients is do all that work. But yeah, no, I thought that was an interesting article. And if you want to check out the other ones from this past week, there's 4 other great ones highlighting some stuff from Champagne. Another article written by Ray Isle, who's another podcast guest of ours, giving us tips and tricks on Napa. So definitely go check that out. And then each week moving forward, we'll highlight another story that we find interesting and want to share with our group. But for now, should we get back to other Burgundy and talk about LeBron?
Yeah, that's right. Yep. We've already given a little bit of a introduction to Laurent, but again, pioneering family in Burgundy, now branched off doing his own thing, making wines from some of the top vineyards up and down Burgundy, or up and down the region, and yeah, just has sort of that you can't tell me what to do perspective in his business and in his winemaking, which is refreshing in within the 2 major regions in France. Without lumping Champagne in there, Burgundy, Bordeaux. So much tradition. It's fun to chat with people who are maintaining that tradition, respecting that tradition, but also pushing boundaries, innovating, bringing in new technologies, all those kinds of things. So yeah, I mean, you get all of that in this interview.
Yep. I think you set it up perfectly. Let's dive in.
Awesome. Yeah. Before we get to our interview, remember that if you're looking to drink more wine from your cellar, like the 2018 Latache, but you don't want to waste it because you can't drink a whole bottle, you should pick up a Corvin system. It'll be your best friend. I'm sure LeBron and Draymond have one. You can visit corvin.com and use code VINT15 for 15% off your purchase, any of their devices. If you're a member of the trade, get special discounts. Go to trade.corvin.com for the range of products and accessories for both home and at work, in the winery, or the restaurant. And without further ado, here is our interview with Laurent Ponsot. Hi, Laurent. Thanks so much for joining us.
My great pleasure.
Yeah, it's excellent to have you on. We've had a number of producers recently, and you're coming to us from Burgundy. Tell me just a little bit about your history in the region, your family's history in the region. You've been making wine for a long time yourself, and give our listeners just a bit of an overview of your passion for Burgundy and how you've taken root there.
Yeah, for sure. I am passionate. This is the right word. I have been doing my own studies outside Burgundy. I make my own life. But when I was nearly 30 years old, I peeled from the region, from the wine, from the vines were too strong, and I came back. So this year, 24, will be my 43rd vintage as a winemaker, a farmer, and so on. So I have that. I have some blood in my wine, not some wine in my blood, I guess.
Yes.
And so, the family started in 1872 to farm vines, but none of the people of the family was originally made for that. I mean, the founder was a soldier. My grandfather was a doctor-in-law. He was also a diplomat. My father started as a winemaker because he could not study during the war what he wanted to study. But we have always had some other point of view on the job, first of all, on the relation with the vine, with the wine, and so I'm still in that philosophy of giving to nature most part of the work.
And you mentioned that I think your background here, you're in your winery right now. For those who are on YouTube and can see, where is your estate now positioned in Burgundy, just geographically? I know you're making wine all over, but yeah, tell me about that.
We are located in Gilly-les-Citeaux, which is a village, the closest village to the Clos de Vougeot, I guess. Vougeot is a very tiny village, which used to be a hamlet of Gilly-les-Citeaux, which was a bigger one. So my new winery is there. We have to mention that I am not anymore a vine grower, a domain. We are a négociant, and this is a part of our new philosophy. Maybe I will talk about that a bit later. But we don't need, we try to break the code of 2,000 years of history, but in respecting the history. So it's not a paradox. We are a part of the history, and we don't want to go back to the Middle Age in winemaking or whatever. So this is something to mention. We are not Domaine Laurent Ponsot, but just Laurent Ponsot is the name of the winery. That's it.
Awesome. And so you're our first Burgundy producer to come on the podcast. So can you tell us a little bit about, like, since you have been working and making wine for so many years, how the industry has changed and how Burgundy, especially on like the global stage, has kind of transformed in recent years?
Yeah, the Burgundy is one of the two main wine regions that always had a fame, Bordeaux and Burgundy. Some other region like Barolo or Rhône Valley, it was up and down, but these two regions made wine for years and had a fame. What I noticed in the last, I would say, 50, 60 years is a big loss of the identity of the appellation in favor of the fame of vine growers. Like in the kitchen, in the restaurants, you have the name. In the past, you have the name of the restaurant and not the name of the chef. Today, the name of the chef is predominant beside. So we are living this kind of evolution. I am not sure this is good. In the past, you would buy Clos de Vougeot, whatever the Clos Vougeot is made with. I mean, great from Clos Vougeot, but who has made it? It was not important. People wanted to buy Clos Vougeot. Now they want to buy, I don't say Leroy or Ponsot or whatever, before they buy the appellation. Now, this is the biggest change since I would say the early 80s.
And you think it was just sort of the rise in prominence of critic reviews who often mention specific winemakers and the chateau, obviously, or the domain. What's the
Yeah,
what
sure.
was the impetus?
That's exactly when the critics started to be famous and to talk about wine on the planet. We had some, I mean, magazines and so on in the past, but not at that stage. And the communication and of today, and today the social medias on top of it are increasing this way of giving to people the sensation they are famous. And many of winemakers today have a big melon, and they forget to make wine.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating just thinking about the difference in perception of different producers in the same vineyard, right? Vougeot, perception of one producer versus maybe quote unquote the top producer, and the price difference between those wines all coming from the same vineyard, not something that we saw historically, correct?
Well, yeah, for sure. Today, we are living in a period of time where the critics are obliging, so to say, some winemakers to change their mind. I don't think this is a good thing. Burgundy, I told you, the history is 2 millenniums. So we cannot erase that with it just because someone wants to get a wine that has this taste or whatever. So now we changed dramatically the way of thinking. Passion is not anymore there.
Yeah. And then along with some of these other changes, prices for Burgundy in general have skyrocketed in the past 20, 30 years. Has that, and now as a negociant, is that impacting, I know land prices are higher, I'm sure fruit prices are higher. How is that impacting generally like how the wines are approached and basically how they're perceived on the market maybe?
The thing is that today we are in Burgundy, we have been producing wine with appellations. This is the only place on earth which is so tiny with 1,240 different appellations. So we used to do that, to produce this diversity. Today we are producing Pinot Noir. We have never been capable to make a good Pinot Noir in Burgundy. It doesn't exist. All the Pinot Noirs are made outside Burgundy. So this is the problem, that the impact of the classification of the Burgundy under the level, under the title Pinot Noir is not accurate for me. Why would you put Bordeaux apart from the cabs and so on, and all the cabs outside Bordeaux are under this list? And why would you put Burgundy under the list of Pinot Noir? We don't produce any Pinot Noir, any Chardonnay, any Aligoté, or whatever. We have appellations, and many appellations. Out of the 1,240 different appellations, it's still divided by many owners, many makers, because the negociant can buy also from owners. So how many bottle of wine of Burgundy are reaching the planet Earth every year? A lot. But not a lot, but not many with each appellation. And this is something quite unique.
Yeah, maybe you can expand there as you mentioned negociants a bit. Tell us a little bit about how the different arms of Laurent Ponsot, the business, negociant, winemaking, and share with our audience sort of how you're in the market these days.
Yeah, actually, my philosophy.
Sure.
I have been during years, 36 years, working for the family estate, and I was sure that without farming yourself the vines, you cannot make a good wine. I changed my mind. Why should I decide I am the only one to produce good grapes out of the, 1,800 vine growers of Burgundy? I guess some of them are producing excellent grapes, sometimes better than mine. So I try to chase these guys and work with them, buy them grapes and so on. So I changed my mind, but at the end, this is the same. We need a raw material which is quasi-perfect. And with this raw material, we can eventually make a good wine. And sometimes we can also make some shit, I would say, with good grapes if you don't follow the rules and the rules of nature. So, well, this is what I decided to do in the new winery. I want to have as many providers as possible for the same appellation. Richness is in diversity. So if you own a part of ground in Chambertin, you produce Chambertin with your own grapes, this may be good. It may be very, very good. But if you have the grapes from your neighbors, both sides, or the guy which is the opposite part of the ground of Chambertin, then you will have a real view of the Chambertin when you put that in your mouth. You will have your taste will be Chambertin. In the past, Négociants were doing this. The estate bottling started in the early 80s in Burgundy, end of the 70s and early 80s. Before that, Négociants were buying the wines from the vine growers, blend it, market it. That was how Burgundy was famous. I want to go back to this. Grand négoce bourguignon, as we say. And for example, speaking of Chambertin, the best Chambertin in the past, very famous, was the one from Bouchard. Bouchard had 12 providers for the Chambertin. So they would blend the wine of 12 providers in their own Chambertin. And it was gorgeous. So my Chambertin, we farm vines in Chambertin, but we buy grapes from neighbors. So since I buy the grapes, our Chambertin is 10 times better because of the diversity. We were speaking of the Claude Vougeot, 55 hectares, 85 owners on 50 hectares. Plus the grapes sold to Négociants. Every year you have around 100 different Claude Vougeot on the market, each vintage. So what I do myself is I have 10 provenance from different parts of the Claude Vougeot, and I pretend our Claude Vougeot being universal. I don't pretend this is the best, but coming from behind the chateau or on the pond close to the river, to the Route Nationale and so on. So it's just a Claude Vougeot as it should be if I would be the owner of the 50 hectares. And this is something really new. In Burgundy, mostly people are trying out of the different appellations to extract the location of the plot and pretending this is the best plot of Claude Vougeot. Everybody has this plot behind the chateau. If you ask them, nobody has any vine outside. So, and they pretend, but why? And then you would put the name of the location on top of the name of the appellation. So it's already complicated, Burgundy. So why would you complicate it a little more? So what I do myself here at the winery Laurent Ponsot is to blend. And every single appellation we produce is minimum with 2 providers. Sometimes 10 to 15. My Meursault is made from 15 plots on the hill of Meursault, for example. And this is what is very special beside what I've done in the past. I learned with people in the village of Moret-Saint-Denis about nature, about vines, about winemaking, and so on. I am an enologist. I went to the university in Dijon to learn enology. Everything has been done for me to understand what nature gives, take what she gives, the treasure she gives, and try to proceed, turn it into wine. But we are just one tiny element of a process. It's a chain that starts with the roots of the vine, end in the glass of wine. Who are we as human beings? Part of the chain. Every element of each chain is as important as the previous and the next one. Our role is not to make the chain rust or break, and there's nothing else. We cannot pretend being a winemaker. There is no translation in French for winemaker. We produce wine, we don't make wine.
So are you making the same wines from this? Is it vintage by vintage based on like where you're selecting the fruit, or are you building these longer term relationships and releasing these expressions each year of specific places?
Yeah, we respect the vintage as well. So my providers, sometimes like in 21, we had a big frost, especially in the region for white wine. So they didn't deliver me any grape or any must because they had for themselves so little or none that we take the risk. We share the risk with my providers. And every year we have the same people working with us. And I try year after year to add 1 or 2 providers in the same appellation. Now, the new winery, we have 30 appellations altogether, all the range of the levels from Bourgogne to the Grand Cru. And for each one, we have many providers. And for Bourgogne, for example, which is made in Bourgogne, I won't reveal where the grapes are coming from. It can be only Gevrey Chambertin, but that can be also I don't know, Chalon-sur-Saône, Mâcon, or the south, or wherever. It's not important. The most important is the pleasure, the emotion, the sensation you have when you drink it. Is it a Bourgogne? Yes, good, I'm happy. It is not a Bourgogne? I don't sell it. I won't sell it. To be sure that we respect each appellation at the moment of putting that on the market, we taste, we analyze, we do a lot of things, and it doesn't correspond to the level we want. We don't put that in the market. We just start a distillery and we put everything to the distillery, and we will make Vin de Bourgogne with the wines which are not accurate. It's to sell it to another négociant that will not make a great Meursault, for example, if it's a Meursault. And so we will, and I have done it already since my 7 years of activity to distill one cuvée because it was not corresponding to our standard. This is why we pretend we do haute couture wines, because if it is not good, if it's a haute couture for fashion, the designer doesn't like the dress, he takes scissors and he cut it. So we do the same.
That's really interesting. Sorry, Brady, I'll let you go there. I've always wondered why more people don't distill things that they aren't going to end up using. But the answer, at least in the US, is always, well, we can sell it on the bulk market. There's not as much respect for or care that if somebody makes a crappy wine, it's like, it's not ours, so it's okay.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Well, I don't want to make my name associate to bad wines or grapey wines or whatever.
Of course.
But it's a challenge more than to be proud of myself. It's a challenge to pretend we do haute couture wines, because at each stage, at each level, we have to be quasi perfect. And we take a lot of risk. And if we take a risk which doesn't pay, okay.
So I'm not sure if I missed it, but how many appellations are you working in?
Today we have 30 appellations. We have 2 Bourgogne, the white and the red. We have 4 villages in red and 2 in white. We have 10 Premier Cru and we have 13 Grand Cru. I guess we are one of the rare producers in Burgundy having so many Grand Cru.
Grand Cru. Oh, okay. Wow.
The
40
Grand
appellation.
Cru, the Grand Cru are Canton Charlemagne, Montrachet in the white, and Chambertin, Griotte Chambertin, Claude Bougeot. These are the Grand Cru.
Oh, what's the breakdown between red and white of the Grand Cru?
2/3 red and 1/3 white. Yeah. And we are very happy of that. Actually, I worked hard. We started 7 years ago with 6 appellations, and we worked like crazy to get more and more. And now we stop increasing, except if one day I can buy grapes from La Tâche, I will make wine with.
I think that, it's, I was actually just talking with Billy the other day, I believe it was Billy, how you go to Burgundy and you see La Tâche, and then, 6 meters away, another vineyard, I don't know the name, not La Tâche sells for X dollars, the other sells for, it's sometimes maybe all storytelling. And so I appreciate your sort of philosophy. And
yeah, well, this is very easy to explain. I have myself a vine in Chambol-Musigny, and my row is next to the row of Musigny. So why is my vine only village while the neighbor is Musigny? It is very easy to explain, very short. Burgundy is a slope facing southeast. From Dijon to Centenay is 70 kilometers long, 1 kilometer wide in average. And if you could eliminate the earth from this slope, you would have a keyboard. We name it a keyboard geology system. Across the slope, you have faults, big faults or small faults, and each side of the fault, you have another appellation. This is why we name it keyboard. You have, the black and the white keys and so on. And you have all these, if you are in a vineyard, with the vine grower, it takes you in a row, and it tells you on the left is Griotte Chambertin, on the right is Chapelle Chambertin. Hey, you are crazy. Nothing is different. The earth is different. The plant is the same. Nothing is different. So, but your 2 feet are above a fault. Both sides. I take on purpose this example because Chapelle Chambertin you have 20 to 30 centimeters of soil on top of the rock. But you have 1 meter to 4 meters earth before you reach the rock. And the rock components are totally different from the rock, the other side of the fold. And this is what makes Burgundy so, different in appellation in such a small surface. Vineyard Chambertin, 2.5 hectares, but you cannot name it Chapelle Chambertin or Charme Chambertin, which is at the other side. It's totally different, just due to the geology. Unique on Earth. Maybe we will discover in China or in some places another kind of limestone system like this, but to now, Burgundy is unique.
So the 6 meters does make a difference.
The earth is not important. The earth is feeding the plant.
Yeah.
The most important is the rock. The roots of the vines are going 10 meters below the ground level, and they find the rock. They, so to say, the mineral element every year in the winter, and in January starts to go up, feed the plant through the roots, and then bring the mineral element, which is kind of powder made by the sap of the year before, and on the way, turns the mineral element into flavors, aromas. This is a mystery we don't understand. We know the system, we know the process, but how come nature is transforming, so to say, these paths made from only element of the sap of last year and the mineral, the rocks underneath the vines, and bring it to a flavor of, I don't know, black currant, red currant, or strawberry or whatever. That's crazy. And this is unique.
Oh, yeah. That's a great explanation, by the way.
Yeah. Simple.
So, the name is escaping me for some reason right now, but there are also those they're like little like canyons or areas where the air kind of is funneled through that are coming off the Massif Central. Does that impact as well, in addition to the soils?
Impacts, especially when we have disease or problems, weather problems. The wind coming from this little valley, we name it valley. It's not canyons, more tiny valleys. We name it combe in French, which is another word for valley. For example, in 21, when we have this big frost, spring frost, some vineyards like Moret Saint-Denis were not really affected because there is no valley, deep valley that is bringing the cold air from the mountain, from the hill, to say. While Chambol-Musigny is a lot affected because there is a big canyon, a big valley there. So yeah, but other than that, there is no impact.
Yeah, that's right. I remember in Raj Par's like somebody's Atlas or Atlas to Wine. They talk about the combs a lot, and I thought that was really fascinating. And I hadn't really considered that, both for drainage and air in general. I kind of wanted to shift a little bit, talking about your wines. You had some special packaging, obviously, your own designs. Can you talk a little bit about like how you landed on what your wines were going to look like, and also some of the innovative kind of authenticity elements to those? And then we can talk about later why you kind of are really focused on making sure there's no way to kind of fake your wines.
Well, yeah, this is what I said previously. This is just to break the codes. At one moment, I was fed up with seeing a horse in the vineyards. Out of 2 millennium, we had horse only 60 years in the vineyard. So today that we go back to, I tell it folklore more than anything else. So as I decided to change my mind and blend many provenance in the same bottles, I say, okay, let's go further in breaking the codes, and the choice of my colors, of my labels, and so on is a little controversial, I know. But there is an explanation. Actually, the dark gray of my logo is coming from the atmosphere of the cellar, and the flashy green is exactly the color of the tiny leaves when they are going out of the bud in March. So we blend vine and wine in the logo, and there is an explanation. Everything we do has an explanation. But the main thing was to decide not to draw a label with a chateau, with vine or something, which is or a crest. I decided to go. Maybe I was wrong. I don't know, but I decided to really go as far as possible, and we picked the font, which is like the name of the font is nasalization, so NASA. See, futuristic. Okay, it's maybe too far. It's too much, but I want to break these habits, like I did break the fact that we say Maison Laurent Ponsot or Domaine Laurent Ponsot. We don't need that. My winery is Laurent Ponsot, just because, not because I'm proud of myself, but because when I restarted, I needed some money, and the bankers told me, take your name. Your name is famous, so take your name as the name of your company. So I did. But now my packaging is a little special. We are moving to new packaging because we also evolve with what nature needs as a help to keep her clean and so on. So we will change our packaging, not the colors, but the weight. We don't use any wood, but composite made from recycled wood and recycled plastic or whatever. Now we will go to elegant cardboard to make it lighter for transportation and safe and so on. So we evolve, but still with modern touch, I would say. Modern is a word that was modern 50 years ago still. And so, and for sure, on top of it, what I want is that the wine arrive in your glass in the best condition. And I want you to be sure that the wine you are pouring in your glass is the wine that has been made here at the winery. Maybe we talk later about the fakes, but everything I have done is made for you guys to be sure that you will have pleasure with my wines, the wines that I produce. So, on each bottle of Grand Cru and Premier Cru, because the cost is too much for the Village and the Bourgogne, you have a chip that you can test with your cell phone, and that will give you immediately the proof of authenticity. And this chip is an NFC chip, a banking NFC. Each time you read it, it changes chaotically its IP address. So you cannot fake it. You cannot reproduce this chip, which is the maximum of technology of today. We are still looking for more if it happen one day. So on top of it, to be sure, the other element which is important is the temperature of the wine, temperature of the transportation, the storage, and so on. So in each case of Grand Cru and Premier Cru, we have a sensor that records the temperature every 3 hours, forever, because we can also change the battery inside the little and you don't need to open the case. You put your cell phone on the side, and you have the graph of temperature that gives you the indication from the day the case left our winery. So this is not secret. Many of my colleagues who fight against the fakers are doing things which are secret. But how do you check? You need to go back to the winery. You need to go on a website. I don't know. My system is simple. Everybody that has a cell phone, even iPhone today, is using the NFC. It was long to come, and it is easy.
Well, yeah. Are so the only producer that you know of, I mean, especially in Burgundy, doing this?
Yeah, sure. Because I have been innovative myself. The intelligent case, for example, I invented that 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. Now the company that made it can sell it. I have also invented the closure. My closure, 20 years of research of an alternative to the natural cork. My closures are copy, to make it short, a copy of the best natural cork. It took me 18 years to find out what is a perfect natural cork, and then 2 years to copy. And this is something also I was about to buy the company that made it, because they were going to bankruptcy, but finally they got money. They are still producing it, and it is sold to all over the planet. More and more people are using these closures, which are a revolution. When you buy 12 bottles, you are sure to drink 12 bottles. So no TCA, no bacteria, no bad taste, and no variation between 2 bottles after 20 years or 30 years. And to be sure that it will stay inert forever, we did tests in acceleration on 400 years. This is more or less the maximum of the science in terms of going far in time. But I guess the 1,000 years, none of the components will move into the wine. And the three elements, which are porosity, density, elasticity, the main element for a cork, stay the same. So no problem. And you can open it with a corkscrew like any other. That's a revolution.
Wow. Yeah, that really is. Is it? I've never actually had the luxury of opening one of your wines yet, or the pleasure. Is it a composite, or is it like made of natural materials?
There are three different polymers. There are three different polymers which are made to replace the three elements that I mentioned of the best natural cork. Yeah. And polymer is a nice word to say. Plastic, it's just plastic. We have a plastic cork on our Montrachet bottle.
Are you able to throttle how much, or I guess a line on how much air you want coming through in and out? Okay.
Yes, cool. We know exactly how much oxygen is going in a given time through the closure to the wine. That's a revolution.
Yeah.
We didn't calculate a different porosity for the Bourgogne generic or the Village or the Grand Cru. Nature has to do her work as well. So we kept the very best, as I said, the copy of the natural cork to make also the diversity going into the wine naturally.
Nice. So I guess we'll pivot back now to, I do have to ask about your experience with the sour grapes and Rudy Canero one. Have you seen any, I guess, can you give just a quick background for our listeners on who don't know maybe what I'm talking about? I think most people do. And then also like how you have seen maybe security and the ability to fake wines change over years, or have you seen less of it, more of it? Is it a big problem from your point of view? Any of that info.
Yeah, the story started in 1995. I am in Kuala Lumpur and I see at the airport a bottle of mine, which was not my bottle. It was the first time I saw 95, Kuala Lumpur. Believe me, at that time, not many people were drinking wine in Kuala Lumpur. Today, a little more. So I said to myself, wow, it's good. If people are copying my wines, it means my wines are good. You copy the Audemars Piguet watches, you don't copy the watch you buy in a supermarket for sure. So, okay, but past little glory, I would say, the heat of the glory. Then I say, yeah, but someone will drink this bottle. And what is inside? Probably not a good wine. So I was starting to think about it. And when it's not by chance that I discovered that a guy in 2008 was selling fake wines at a big auction, I was already, accurate in this idea that people were faking. And I had made some research before as well. So the story, the story, documentary Sour Grapes, which is not my favorite because in this documentary, you also have fake news. When you talk about fake wines, please verify your sources. I have a scoop for you. I wrote a book, which is about to be published in English, I guess before Christmas or beginning of next year, published in French already. The name of the book is FBI, Fake Bottle Investigation. This is all my story, my saga, I would say, when I discovered all this problem and I found out that this Rudy Canero one was making it. So today, I would tell you there's less and less fake wines. This guy made a lot. The problem is that only maybe 10% of what he has done has been discovered. Many people that has been fooled by this guy didn't appear. They still have the wines down in the cellar. And little by little, they will sell it to auction, I guess. And so this is in the dark. Nobody will know. There is no proof, nothing. So that's the main problem. He has probably made 20,000 bottles, fake bottles, and only 2,000 has been discovered and destroyed. So,
wow.
What can I say?
Yeah. And he's out of jail now. I mean, he was deported, but he's out there again. So,
yeah, he's been deported and he starts again to make he's back on track. He's doing incredible. Now he's organizing in Singapore, Hong Kong, big dinners. Everybody has to pay $5,000 to be there. And he says, okay, bring a bottle of wine. I will tell me which wine you will bring, and I will bring you the copy. And they do this blind, and with a number 1, number 2, and everybody is amazed how the number 1 and number 2 are good, which is which. So, but he's a liar, he's a crook, he's a shit. And what he's doing, he's buying, because he has a lot of money, he's buying a real one, pretend he has faked it. For sure, the two are the same bottles. So easy. Again, this guy is really, you have to avoid it. The problem today, this guy is a hero. And people are paying. I've met some of my friends in Singapore that say, oh, I've been to this dinner. I say, I don't talk to you anymore. Why did you go and give money to this bloody guy? He says, oh, look, I am the biggest faker on earth. I have a proof. I spent 10 years in prison because of this. That's crazy. No, but be sure that today less and less people are faking wine still, but sporadically, 12 bottles there, 6 bottles there, not on this big scale, I guess. Maybe one will start again, but many of my colleagues are doing protection. My system, for example, it's impossible for people to fake my wines. It would cost too much. We have 5 elements. The bottle is molded at the factory with our name. We have the new closure. We have this chip, and we have some other things that I cannot reveal. In case of lawsuit, we can prove. We also have something secret. So this is why it's very difficult for people to fake. But you will see in auctions, from time to time, you will see the RK bottles appearing. I cannot say don't buy wines at auctions, but buy wines at the wineries or at the wine merchant. This would be the best. Even for art, you are never sure the painting is authentic when you buy it at auction.
The fake ones, if they were known that they were fake at auction immediately, they would probably sell for even more than the actual wine because of the whole, the story and scandal around it all. People want to collect.
The other day, a guy sold a Ferrari, and the Ferrari was not made by Ferrari. He bought all the parts of the Ferrari, and he built one Ferrari with. But it was not a Ferrari made by Ferrari. That's crazy.
Let's talk more specifically about your Grand Cru appellations and the wines that you make from there. Maybe you can talk about the whites, and then the reds. Perhaps you can.
So, well, you want me to list them? It's easy
to list, but maybe something about the uniqueness of each. So sort of run through the Laurent Ponsot portfolio there.
Yeah, but all the Grand Cru I produce are made from minimum 2 provenance.
Okay.
I don't have one Grand Cru that comes from one.
I see.
Owner, one producer of grapes. Even the Griotte Chambertin, which is one of the smallest of my Grand Cru, because there are 2.5 hectares altogether, divided in 7 owners, 7 producers, I can get 2 provenance of the grapes. So that's the main element for my Grand Cru. Some years, I have to admit that I cannot get more than 1 barrel. So then it's only one provider.
Wow.
Like in 21, because of the lack of quantity, I could not, but I try as much as I can to do that. And this makes the difference. And I'm not very, I cannot speak about my wines. I am the father. Every father, my children are the best, they are the most intelligent and so on. But in fact, they are who they are, and they have to prove themselves who they are. And the wines are the same. I never do, when I do masterclasses or dinners or tastings, I never comment my own wines. Never. That's impossible for me. If they are not presenting well, I would be tempted to be, oh, no, don't drink it, this is shit, whatever. But if they are showing well, I say, wow, I'm proud,
Yeah.
Elbows are above my head. No, well, we have 13 appellations. We have a lot of Grand Cru from Gevrey-Chambertin. There are 9 Chambertin satellites, and we produce 7 of them, which is rare.
Awesome.
Which is
Are
rare.
you
And,
predominantly getting? Are you mainly getting musts from these producers? Are you getting grapes, or does it vary based on the
So
appellation?
we have 3 ways of getting the wine. The first is to buy grapes. For the reds, we buy grapes mostly. And we can sometimes sporadically buy a barrel already made, but not long after the harvest. It has to be blend with our own production. And if it's a barrel that we buy, if you adopt a child, if it's a baby, it will become your child because you will raise the child your way. If you buy a barrel 2 weeks before the bottling, it's not your wine. So this is not what we want to do. So we do mainly grapes for the red and sometimes a barrel, and must for the white. Must because, for example, Meursault, we have 15 plots on the hill of Meursault, 8 providers, and each of them have several plots. So they harvest, they press, they blend themselves in a big tank, and before they do their own fermentation, we go with a reefer truck. We pump as much as they want to sell, and we bring it here at the winery and we ferment it. But we also sometimes buy a barrel of a white that we blend with our own product. Blend is a word that is not very much used in Burgundy, more in Champagne. But for me, the very best Champagne are the Champagne from the Grande Maison, which is a blend of 25 to 50 different provenance. So we try to go back to the ancient time where the négociants were blending the provenance of their production.
For sure. I mean, I think while it's not explicitly said, any Bourgogne or like village wine is technically a blend because it's 2 different parcels, or it's or most likely technically a blend. Maybe it's from a single parcel, but I think there is some of this going on that people are just not thinking about, and
Yeah,
in the
sure.
effort to make the best wine possible. Yeah.
But in Burgundy, this is not very usual to do that.
Yeah, for like the Premier Cru and the Grand Cru. Yeah. Nice. So I wanted to, just before we're getting closer to time here, talk about, I guess, not only how the market and things have changed for Burgundy, but how has the weather, has the fruit, has the growing, I guess, environment changed much? And are you looking at other potential appellations that maybe weren't as on the radar before to maybe expand to? I know you said you weren't looking to expand right now, but are there other areas around that are exciting you, or anything looking forward to the future?
Yeah, the big challenge today is to produce village wine. The Bourgogne, first of all, if you can produce a great Bourgogne without declassifying higher appellation, that's a challenge. And that's what we are doing. We never declassify anything except if Mother Nature is not generous and we declassify everything. And the challenge today is to put the village appellations at a good level. We have a lot of village appellation to put on the market. People are focused on Premier Cru and Grand Cru especially, but Grand Cru represents 1.5% of the production of Burgundy. So it's a drop in the ocean. So people have to focus on the village, and some villages are so good. Sometimes even better than a Premier Cru or a bad Grand Cru, for sure. And so this is, I guess, the challenge. On top of it, the prices are so high that the ratio with quality price for the village is probably fantastic. So this is what I think will be to focus on in the future. But going back to some elements that, for example, what makes the prices so high today is the land price. After the Second World War, you could buy a 1 hectare of Grand Cru and pay it with a 5 next harvest. Today, you need 150 harvests to pay a hectare of Grand Cru. So the word return on investment that didn't exist 100 years ago or even 50 years ago, today is something important. So when rich people are buying land here in Burgundy at any price, too high for sure, they need to have a return on investment. So this is why, for example, I don't say any name, but one very famous Grand Cru has been bought some years ago by a rich guy. And the year before, the price was 180 euro per bottle, and the next year it was 400. So, okay, that makes that today the prices of Burgundy are increasing dramatically, and I don't like it myself, due to the fact that the land cost is so high. Okay, no further comment on it, but I hope one day we will become more reasonable in that. And another element which you mentioned earlier is the climate change. Climate change, people say the global warming. I say this is a heat wave, nothing else. In Burgundy, we are very happy of this. We never had so many great vintages in a row. Never. We had heat waves in the past, and my grandpa, which was a doctor-in-law, was writing down everything he made, including analysis of these wines. So I noticed, because I got his notes, that during the 2 decades, the 30s and the 40s, all his wines were above 14% alcohol, a third above 15% alcohol. Means we had hot summers. Then I wanted to learn about the summers. He was writing everyday temperature. It was every summer around 40 Celsius, which is very high. So the ratio between sun and alcohol, sugar, is there. So we are in the same period of time now. So we have quite high alcohol in Burgundy now, but if it is given by nature, you won't feel it. It's good. And we are not suffering from this heat wave at all. The reason why we make only great vintages now is the evolution of technology. We have a way to cool down the vats during the fermentation. Too high temperature means you get vinegar instead of doing wine. Dijon is the capital of mustard, but to make mustard, you need vinegar. Where do you find vinegar? But in a wine region when you cannot reach the point of making wine. So in the past, out of 10 years, you had 5 years for vinegar, 5 years for wine. And this is why all the 30s and 40s were not very famous, because they produced vinegar as well. It was so hot. See, today we can make only great wines. So this is, I'm not just, nature is so great. Okay, we accelerate maybe by the human being, experiences or bad experiences. We accelerate this timing, but we will go back to frost, to cold weather, another, ice wave probably in 20 years or something. So I am not, and we don't need to change our grape. Pinot Noir can be grown in Santa Barbara where there's a lot of sun, and so it doesn't suffer from that. So we can have still great vintages in the future with this fantastic heat wave. Maybe I'm the only one to like it. I'm sad for the planet Earth, but I try my best to, on the side, do everything necessary not to increase this, but it's good for us.
That makes sense. That's interesting. And then I also never really thought about Dijon and mustard being so closely linked to the grapes.
There is always an explanation.
Awesome. Well, we'll basically leave it there. Is there anything else you have your book coming out? Are you going to be releasing any of your wines soon? Or
I just need to find a publisher, because I've done one in France. I need to find a publisher in English. I found one in Chinese already. But I am quite focused on what I'm doing here. The period of time, as you know, the economy doesn't go well all over this tiny planet, and the finance crisis is there. So we have to work hard because we are young, and I spend all my money investing to this winery, which is an avant-garde winery, actually. And so I have no time to spend to find the publisher, but I have I launched some lines there and there. It may happen. But this book will be fantastic because it is the real truth. Everything which was fake in the documentary is now, you will understand. You will understand why Rudy Kunawat is not a hero, but a bloody crook.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. Can people visit your winery if they're in the area, or is there no tasting?
Actually, no, because we are so tiny. We are a kind of a boutique winery.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I answer yes to all the requests of visit, I would spend myself 48 hours a day to do that. So we accept the visit from our clients, from some sommelier, but private customers we cannot, unfortunately. I would love to do that. Maybe we will do it in the future. We are still, because the COVID give us a big break in our evolution. We are still investing in many things, and maybe one day we will have one person devoted to welcome people and make some tastings and so on. We have the location. We have a fantastic room for welcoming people, a private kitchen and everything, even a stage to make music. So we have everything, but up to now it's impossible.
Well, we'll look forward to that day. But thank you so much for your time, Laurent. This has been great.
Well, it was always easy for me to talk about my passion.
All right. That was our interview with Laurent Ponsot. I hope everybody learned a little bit more about Burgundy and his wines in particular. And if you want to taste his wines from up and down the Côte de Nuit and the Côte de Beaune, we recommend a Corbin. You can taste multiple wines from different vineyards to kind of compare and contrast the impact of the terroir and share with your friends without having to pop the cork on any of them. So go check out Laurent Ponsot's wines, check out Corbin. And that is our episode for this week. We'll be back with another episode next week. Cheers.